What's up YouTube, I'm Mike, and today I'm back with another Trenbolone Acetate update video. It's now been 7 days since I started the Tren Ace, and it's been quite a roller coaster ride, so I wanted to give you guys an update to talk about how I'm feeling now versus how I was feeling then. I'm shooting this to show my physique as well, because I had a theory that shooting this kind of content was getting caught in the filter. All of my previous videos have been going straight through, so we'll see if there's any truth to that. I started Tren Ace on, I think it was last Friday, 11 milligrams per day. The reason I started at 11 milligrams is because I was stable at about 120 milligrams of Tren E, and I was taking that in 2 shots a week. So I took Tren E on Sunday, then I skipped my Wednesday shot, so it would start falling out of my system before I started the Ace, and I started the Ace at a lower dose than I knew I was eventually going to get to try to have, you know, the one coming down and the other coming up, so as to get the least amount of excess Tren in my system as possible, because I didn't want to muddy the experiment, which may or may not have been muddied anyway. You know, it's entirely impossible for me to know exactly where serum concentration of Tren is on the decline versus incline. I feel like I got pretty close though. So I started Tren Ace at 11 milligrams, and then I went up to 12 milligrams on Saturday, 12 milligrams on Sunday. Then I stopped taking notes, and by Wednesday of this week, I guess still this week, I was up to 15 milligrams per day. In the beginning, so day 1 of the Trenbolone, I think I made a video 3 days in, and during that video I was very animated. I said in my previous video that I intentionally waited 3 days to shoot the content because I have such an acute come-up effect, and it seems to be sort of tainting these experiments. If you look back on my channel and you look at like week 1 of Anadrol, week 1 of Anavar, week 1 of just about any steroid compound, and there's a lot of very similar effects. I'm feeling very happy, very upbeat. My mood is lifted, my libido is up. I'm always just like on top of the world in the beginning of these cycles. And there's no chance that all of these compounds cause the same thing. I don't believe that's true. I think it's just my unique neurochemistry that responds very well to new compounds, I guess. I don't know what the reasons are, but it happens a lot. And so of course on day 1 of Tren Ace, I got all the same familiar feelings, super happy and upbeat, which again, it's like I told my wife, like, you know, 3 days into Tren Ace, I'm like, man, this feels amazing. But it doesn't feel like Tren. You know, like that's not what Tren does to you. So by the evening of that 3rd or 4th day, the Tren started to feel like actual Tren. So I have continued to get an energy boost in the morning, but already at day 7, it is nowhere near as acute as it was the first few days. The first few days, my wife was like, holy shit, get away from me. Your energy is like, you know, like I said in the previous video, she said I was running around like a crackhead. Just exuding energy, so much so that it seemed to be affecting the people around me. That has pretty much gone. At least I think it is. Maybe it's because I can't feel it anymore. Do you think it's gone? Do you think the level of intensity
the level is definitely way less.
Okay, I don't know if you could hear that. She said that the level of intensity is way less. So like I pinned 15 milligrams of Tren about 3 hours ago now, after a complete night's rest, and I don't feel any, I mean, like if, I would believe that I forgot to take my shot. Like I don't feel it anywhere near as acutely as I did. So that means one of a couple of things. Either A, and this is what I think is most likely, I feel the come up in a major way. For whatever reason, when a drug is climbing in my system, it has a lot of acute psychological effects that seem to have little to do with the drug itself and more just to do with my unique neurochemistry. Or B, it's just that I had some E in my system and then I pinned A that made me go a little high for a few days until they leveled out. That's possible too. Historically speaking, everything that I'm experiencing the last few days on Tren Ace is exactly what I experience every time the drug starts to level out in my system. So I suspect what's really going on is that my body has become used to, or I have reached peak serum concentration of 15 milligrams a day of Tren, which I think is like 105 milligrams per week. So my wife doesn't know this yet. Yeah, so I'm on 15 milligrams a day. Based on the way I'm feeling now, I'm almost certainly going to increase my dose tomorrow, or maybe even at the end of making this video.
This is shocking news.
105 milligrams of Tren Ace is probably, I'd have to do the math, it's somewhere equivalent to 120 milligrams of Tren E. But I'm not really feeling it anymore, and I already miss it. I will admit, though, that over the course of the last 3 days, the actual Tren side effects have come on in full fucking force. Like I have been having extreme agitation on the road, in the gym. The weird thing is that I've been experiencing it around the house, but not toward my family at all. In the past, Tren cycles would make me very irritable if my kids were trying to like interrupt me when I was playing game. Like I would get real fixated. And now, admittedly, my daughter's been gone a whole week, so that there's a factor there. And my son is old enough now that he's having a lot of sleepovers with friends, and so there's been a lot less kid activity here this week than is typical. But even when they're around, I just don't feel any level of irritation or aggression or animosity or anything. I feel none of it toward my wife. We're all getting along phenomenally. The second I step foot outside and come into contact with almost anyone else, that shit changes rapidly. Now, the other good news is that it's not affecting me at work. I'm not having any problems with coworkers. I'm not having any problems with my bosses. I'm not having any problems on the road with clients. So it seems that this is a dose that is very easily tolerable for me psychologically. There have been some moments. I did check a guy in the gym the other day rather aggressively and was absolutely ready to throw down if he had pushed it at all. That would have definitively been a fight. And there's been enough agitation that something could have easily gone down at any point in the last 4 days if anybody had even remotely tried to test me. So I won't know really anything more about that for the next week or two. It seems to be most acute in the gym or any other activity that gets my blood up, especially in the gym though. When I'm in the gym lifting, the trend seems to just absolutely take hold. I hate every single person in that building. It really increases my agitation and sort of homicidal thoughts. Another thing I would like to mention is the only real negative I'm experiencing from Tren Ace thus far is in the beginning and still to some degree now. In the evenings, I was feeling a little bit cracked out. Although I figured out that what's really actually been going on is I'm having catastrophic blood sugar crashes. I'm having multiple blood sugar crashes per day, and I finally got my D game back to functional with the re-administration of a very small dose of Cialis. And then my wife and I were trying to get down to business the other night. We usually have like a protracted lead-up period. I'm not going to give you all the details in this video because I'll flag it. You can see the lead-up behavior on certain fan sites. And during this lead-up behavior, I literally sit and shovel like Starburst or Skittles or Twizzlers, and I literally carb up before any physical activity on my part. And if I don't, I have catastrophic blood sugar crashes. So 2 nights ago, she was kind of not in the mood, and she was like, how about you just do whatever you want to do? And I was like, great. And I tried to do my thing and lasted 3 minutes. I don't know how long. I mean, it was not a long period of time at all. And my blood sugar started crashing. The way I can tell my blood sugar is crashing, although I can't always guarantee that's what it is, but almost certainly, is I'll be in the middle of an act that is perfectly functional on every level, and suddenly I will just lose the mental connection to the soldier. Soldier is still completely functional, but it's just like all of the good sensitivity disappears. And so when the sensitivity disappears, I automatically start assuming that the functionality is going to disappear. And usually, eventually it does. In this case, eventually it did. I don't know whether that's because of lack of sensitivity, if it's a mental thing, or if it's literally caused by the blood sugar. But I had to abort the mission because I was non-functional in the middle of it, and jumped out of bed, went and checked my blood sugar. It was 52. So immediately following that, I start trying to get the sugars in. I'm shaking. I'm having the cold sweats, the racing heartbeat, kind of fluttery feeling, dizziness. It's absolutely miserable, and it makes our adult time at the end of the evening a complete pain because I have to control my eating like immediately before, or I have blood sugar crashes that can ruin it. So, to prevent this problem, what I obviously should do is stop taking Trenbolone. But that is a blasphemous thing to even suggest, so I'm definitely not going to stop taking Trenbolone. But I also don't want to keep having blood sugar crashes in the middle of adult activity. So the solution to this, that is time tested, proved and tested, is I have to go back on the GH. For me, a lot of people get on GH and they get high blood sugar levels. When I get on GH, I get normal blood sugar levels. So the only thing that has ever worked for me in the past 3 to 4 years of using Trenbolone is I have to run it alongside at least 2 IUs of GH and continue to ingest a reasonable amount of carbs. That tends to prevent the blood sugar crashes. My blood sugar never goes high. It just rides a little higher than normal. So for some reason on 2 IUs of GH, my blood sugar will go up to like 145, 150 post meal, and it'll come down to like 90 to 105, and it'll kind of hang out there. Whereas if I'm not using GH, last night I ate an entire package of Starburst. Okay, so 250 calories, basically pure sugar. It's like 50 grams of carbs, and my blood sugar only rose to 105. This is what typically happens to me if I'm taking Tren and no GH. So I can slam 50 grams of pure sugar. My blood sugar will go up to 105. Any kind of activity, and it starts crashing, and it'll be below 90. The second my blood sugar dips below 70, I'm having problems. Obviously 52 is absolutely unacceptable, and it will absolutely shut down any kind of activity that I'm trying to do. So with the administration of GH, I can keep my blood sugar. Rarely does it crash on GH. Usually it'll bottom out somewhere between 75 and 105, usually fluttering around that 90 mark, which is I think that's like where you want to be generally constantly. I don't know why my blood sugar. I think you can have blood sugar up to 180 post eating, like within 2 hours, within an hour of eating or something. My blood sugar never, ever, no matter what I eat. I can eat a pound of Skittles and my blood sugar will not ever get anywhere near the top end of the range. So I don't know if I'm incredibly insulin sensitive or what the deal is, but it's too much sensitivity and it's absolutely destroying my D game again. So I'm back on the GH. So the current protocol is I'm taking, so while I'm coming up on the Tren Ace, I'm also trying to solve the E2 problem by lowering my testosterone. So I had gotten my E2 back down into the normal range at 22 picograms, I believe, in a range of up to 29. That was administering 1 milligram of 8X per day. I dropped my test down to 400 per week and then down to 300 per week, and I got the bright idea that I could start dosing my 8X every other day, and within 3 days, the gyno came back. So I redosed 1 milligram of 8X last night. I'm going to try to get away with 1 milligram of 8X every other day and a half of a milligram in between. I don't even know what that math is. You know what that math is?
Sorry.
1 milligram every other day with a half in between.
21, 2 weeks, so 10 and a half a week.
What? 10 and a half a week?
No.
No.
That's 7.
5 and a half a week. 5.25 a week.
5.25 a week, sorry.
5.25 milligrams of Arimidex per week at 300 milligrams of test and 200 milligrams of Deca should 100% crash my estrogen into the toilet. I do not know why my estrogen is not crashed yet. I cannot figure this out, but we're going to keep plugging away until it does. So I'm going to continuously lower my testosterone level until it's either gone or my estrogen crashes. Even when it crashes, I'm going to continue low. My plan is to pull out all of the testosterone and leave in HCG, Deca, and whatever other injectable compounds. But to get to what I'm actually taking right now, it would be 300 milligrams of Test C, 200 milligrams of Deca, although I think I'm bumping it back to 300. So it's going to be 300 milligrams of Test C, 300 milligrams of Deca. I'm raising my Masteron to compensate for the lower amount of testosterone. So I'm going to be running, I'm starting at 500, but I'm going to be running 600. So it's going to be 300 milligrams of test, 300 milligrams of Deca, 600 milligrams of Masteron, and 105 milligrams of Trent Ace per week. That's about where we're going to be at when I pin up all my doses this week, with the Trent Ace probably going up slightly. I may try to bump, because it's Ace and because I can dose it, I can dose it very easily. I may just go up like a 1 milligram per day, run that for a week, see how it feels. If I get the little come up again from just an extra milligram a day, cool. I'll ride the wave. And then if it stabilizes and I feel great, I'm not having any problems, another milligram, we'll just kind of keep bumping it up to see what it will do to my physique. Somebody asked in the comments if I'm noticing any physique changes from the Trent Ace. I don't think so. There's so many things in flux right now, though, it would be impossible for me to say, yes, the Trent Ace is doing this. My estrogen is finally back into the reference range. I'm pulling testosterone out of my cycle. I'm putting in more Masteron, which is a drying compound, but then I've got more Deca, which is technically a wet compound. There's too many variables to be able to say any particular thing is doing any particular thing. I feel very good psychologically 90% of the time. I'm still struggling to come back mentally from the D-game problem. It was broken for so long that it's like, even when it works, I don't really trust it. And so it's almost like I have a hard time enjoying sex with my wife, even when it would otherwise be functional, because it's almost like I'm constantly looking over my shoulder to the history of it just completely dropping dead mid-act. And so that's a terrible mindset to be in when you're trying to enjoy something, and when your mental status can control your nether region status. You absolutely don't want to be in a situation where you're constantly like pinging yourself, like, is it okay? Is it good? Can I feel it? Is it fully erect? Like, when you're constantly in that kind of observation mode, it's not ideal at all. Last night, again, without getting into too many details on this particular channel, I don't know whether she did it just because for fun or whether she noticed that I was in my head, but she kind of started talking to me in the act a little bit, and that was really helpful in getting me to stop thinking about all the things that could be possibly going wrong, and actually invest in the act. So I think that it's just going to take some time for me to, I need enough good days. I need to string together enough good days with no breakages so that I can actually start to trust that things are actually fixed. Because in the back of my mind, I'm concerned that the Cialis is not the solution. What I'm concerned about, like the paranoid feeling that I have in my mind right now, is that the Cialis just happened to be timed right. And so my E2 came down and my prolactin was coming up, and those two actually hit the sweet spot right when I added the Cialis back in, and I'm going, oh, the Cialis is causing it. And so I'm concerned that as my E2 falls or rises, that it's going to break again and that it doesn't have anything to do with the Cialis. I think that's a paranoid thought because there's really right now no evidence to believe that's true. The Cialis does seem to have just absolutely fixed the problem. So again, you can see, like, I'm equivocating so much mentally that that's the last place you want to be in when you're trying to engage in that kind of behavior. So my gym workouts have been all over the place. I think this is because there's so many changes to hormones. So the other day, I hit 2 or 3 PRs in the gym. Actually, I guess I hit 2 PRs in the gym, and then I had a couple of workouts where they weren't PRs, but I was lifting weight that I haven't lifted in a long time. I mentioned in the video the other day, my son was shocked at how much I could do on dumbbell side laterals. I had 50s in my hand, and he was like, "Oh my God, you can lateral raise 50-pound dumbbells?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I could probably get those 70s over there." And he's like, "Really?" So I go grab the 70s, and they just went up so easy. I wanted to go grab the hundreds. And so again, I don't know, is that trend come up? Was it just because I was impressing my son? You know, like what was really to play there? But I've noticed that in the gym, since I added the Tren Ace, it's like I can have a couple of like a couple of exercises where I'll either PR or I'll have an unusually high amount of strength, but then it seems like it saps me for the rest of my workout. So I'll have like 2 really strong exercises where I'll lift more than I typically do, and then the rest of the lift I'll feel lesser about. Like I'll feel like maybe I'm not as strong as I otherwise, like as I was the week before. It's almost like, I don't know if it's psychological tap out, what's it, neurological failure, or what's going on there. You know, I don't know what the effect of dropping the testosterone is going to have. In theory, if you have the same amount of androgen load, you should have the same amount of strength and androgen receptor activation and all that. That sounds good. But the thing is that we know that Trenbolone and drugs like Trenbolone and Anavar, for example, produce more strength than drugs like Test, Masteron, Primo. They're both anabolic, and even if you achieve the same anabolic rating by, you know, dosing them so that they're even, you still just get more strength from Tren and Anavar than you're ever going to get from an equivalent amount of Masteron, Primo, maybe Test. That's the big question mark for me. How much strength does testosterone really provide? And by taking it out of my cycle, when I take the Test completely out of my cycle, if the Masteron is not going to provide the same level of strength, then I'm going to be weaker relative to the amount of compounds that are in my system, which is why I think it's going to require me going up on the 19 Nor drugs to maintain the performance in the gym that I want. The performance in the gym it's like I said, it's all over the place. There's like parts of my lift where I feel absolutely monstrously strong, and then there's parts of my lift where it's like, you know, that was average at best. And that's not really typical for me of a trend cycle, but then again, this is still very low dose. So I should probably be thankful that I'm having any appreciable amount of strength in any of my exercises at a dose as low as 105 milligrams of Tren Ace per week. I suspect it's almost certainly going to go up from there. And the thing that seems to be so nice about the Tren Ace is that I can bring the dose up slowly and get to peak serum concentration quickly. I don't have to fucking do, you know, with Tren E, I would be at like 70 milligrams a week and I would feel good about it. And so I'd go, okay, well, I'm gonna try 100 or 120. You bump your doses up to have a total serum concentration of 120 milligrams of Tren in your system, but it doesn't happen immediately. And so you can start feeling good about it in weeks 1 and 2, like, oh yeah, I can really tolerate this dose. Then by weeks 3 and 4, you're like, holy shit, no, I can't. I can't sleep at night, I'm agitated, I'm having marital problems. And then when you go to pull the plug on it, now you've got a couple of weeks to get back to baseline. With Ace, it comes up so quickly and it peaks so quickly that I don't have to have those same concerns. So like I could just jump up, I could go, instead of going from 15 to 16 milligrams per day, I could go from 15 to 20 milligrams per day. I could add 70 more milligrams, is that right? I could add, let's say I add another 5 milligrams per day of Ace to my system. I'm gonna find out in about a week or so, 2 weeks tops, exactly how that feels. And so the ability to go up and down and really dial in a drug that is as neuroactive as Tren is really nice. It's one of the reasons I wanted to stay away from this drug for so long, is because I was afraid that what's happening would happen. I was afraid that I would pin Ace, I would get the come up effect like I've had all week that I really enjoy, and then it would quickly stabilize, and then I would be left wanting more, and to some degree, that is what's happened. And I'm literally sitting here the whole time I'm talking to you, like there's a voice in my head that's debating in the background while words are coming out of my mouth. There's a voice in my head that's like, maybe you should go pin another milligram, or how are you gonna pin 1 milligram though? Maybe you just like, well, I guess it's easy. It's one line on the pin, but it's kind of hard, like one line on the pin. Maybe you should just go up to like 17 milligrams a week, so you could go pin 3 more milligrams, pretty close to your initial. This is the kind of shit that's just, that voice is talking the whole time I'm talking to you. So I'll probably, hopefully, leave it alone for today and then reassess tomorrow. We'll get through today and see exactly how I feel, and then reassess tomorrow whether I'm going to go up on the dose or not. 105 milligrams just doesn't seem, it doesn't even sound like enough, does it? But the objective at this point is not to continue to grow. I don't know if I should say this for another video. I think I will say it for another video. I think I'm about to change directions with my bodybuilding. I think it's about time for me to accept that this is the biggest I'm going to get, at least on this particular blast that has now gone on forever. And I am seriously considering trying to change my dosing protocol and my caloric intake in such a way where it's not exactly go into a cut, but to stop eating the massive amount of carbs that I'm eating every day, and see if I can't clean up my midsection a little bit, bring my abs in a little tighter. Again, nothing like a prep cut or anything. I don't want to lose any muscle mass. But I would like to keep my doses high enough and my carbs high enough that my muscles stay full of glycogen and round and hard, but just slowly try to clean up the midsection a little bit so that my abs look a little bit neater, a little bit sharper without having to flex. Basically what I'm trying to get to is the walking around the water park with visible abs, whereas right now my abs are only really visible if I flex. And so there's probably only a couple of 2, maybe 3 pounds of body fat that I really need to lose. And it might not even all be fat. It could just be water from the massive amount of carbs that I'm eating. My diet right now is absolute shit because I keep having blood sugar crashes. I am almost certainly not getting enough protein in my diet, and almost certainly massively overeating on carbs. And so I'm really going to try to focus on the next couple of weeks on watching my macros and try to make sure that my protein is as high as I can get it, and eat fewer carbs, and see if that takes some of the bloat out of my face and some of the water and stuff off of my lower body, my midsection, and see if that cleans up a little bit. So anyway, I'll save the details for what I'm planning on doing as far as my physique goes, the bigger details for another video. But I wanted to make this video to clarify that we already at day 7. And a lot of the symptoms that I mentioned in the first video that had all of you guys excited, like, oh my God, this sounds like so much fun, I'm gonna run out and get Trenace. Guys, the party's already over. So again, I just want to continue to drive home the point. My particular neurochemistry is very, very sensitive to new compounds, and I can jump on a new drug and make a video, and it's like everybody's like, oh my God, I want some of what he's on. And it's just not sustainable. And it's true. The same thing happens with Anavar. It happens with a lot of different compounds. It's just the come up for me where I really feel as animated as I've been the last week. So the question is, how much do I want to keep playing with the dose to try to prolong the come up? But certainly don't try to chase my effects, because I don't think that they are. I think they have a lot more to do with me and a lot less to do with the drugs. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to cut this one short. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.